Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your f***ing cloud, it be raining now. I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now.
You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
Cause I just wanna hear it out your mouth, yeah. Give me fuel, it's a tool that I use to go ahead and run my mouth, yeah. I take shots, I take loss, I make shots, I miss lots. That's how you get big box, you get yachts, you swing lots and pop off a big shot. I ain't done chasing, got big dreams, bigger things, impatient. Who's at the top think they need replacement? Who's at the top think I'm gonna erase them? Face it, I don't give up quick, I don't give up shit, I won't give up this. Cause I know that I want it, know that I'm on it, I'll make it, I promise.
You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for coming and hanging with us. Now, be sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment if you would at the end. We're going to pick up where we left off with the Lacerta Files, Part 1, Episode 2. I hope you enjoy.
Okay, all right. Now, you've mentioned skeletons of your kind. All right, so how is it that our human scientists, paleontologists, what have you, why haven't they found any trace of you in your answers if you really lived here for, such a long time on this planet? We have found so many different skeletons of primitive dinosaurs and, things of that nature, but none of anything that looks like an advanced reptilian being with, a larger skull and brain, or even with a hand and a thumb as you have described it. So can you maybe give me a little bit of an elaboration here on this?
Yes, you have. But your great scientists were not able to reconstruct the skeletons completely because they wanted to reconstruct reptilian animals, not intelligent beings. You would laugh if you would know how many of the, especially small, saurian skeletons in your museums are totally wrong constructions of never-existing beings, because you used many bones, which didn't really belong together, and sometimes you made artificial bones if something was missing. You needed to construct an animal saurian. Many of your scientists are aware of this problem, but they don't make it public because they can't explain it, and they claim that the right bones were just missing, and their reconstruction is right. Many bones of us were used for iguanodon reconstructions. For example, the hands with the visible thumb. Look at an iguanodon in a museum, and you will see that I'm right. A scientist in the country you call United States had built a nearly correct skeleton of our kind some years ago, but the local government, which is partly aware of our existence, confiscated the reconstruction. As we live today, and since thousands of years, nearly completely beneath the earth, you will not find any cadavers or skeletons of us.
Oh, okay. You speak sometimes about underground cities and artificial sunlight. Do you mean something like the hollow earth theory? Is there like a second sun inside of our planet?
No, Earth is not really completely hollow, and there is no second sun inside. This story is ridiculous and physically not possible. Even your species should be intelligent enough not to believe this. Do you know how much mass a sun must have to produce energy and light for a longer time by fusion? Do you really think that there could be a small active sun inside the planet? When I talk about our subterranean home, I talk about large cave systems. The caves you have discovered near to the surface are tiny in comparison to real caves, and huge caverns deeper in the earth, in a depth of 2,000 to 8,000 of your meters, but connected with many hidden tunnels to the surface or to surface near caves, and we live in large and advanced cities and colonies inside such caves. Major sites of us are beyond the Arctic, the Antarctic, Inner Asia, North America, and Australia. If I talk about artificial sunlight in our cities, I don't mean a real sun, but various technological sources of light, including gravitational sources, which illuminates the caverns and tunnels. There are special cave areas and tunnels with a strong UV light in every city, and we use those places to heat our blood. Furthermore, we have also some surface sun places in remote areas, especially in America and Australia.
Okay. Where could we possibly find such a surface entry into your world or domain, for lack of a better term?
Do you really think I will tell you their exact location? If you want to find such an entry, you have to search it by yourself, but I would advise you not to do that. When I came to the surface 4 days ago, I used an entry approximately 300 of your kilometers north from here, near to a large lake, but I doubt that you would be able to find it. There are only a few entries in this part of the world. More are far more north and east. As a little advice, if you are in a narrow cave or in a tunnel or even in something that looks to you like an artificial mine shaft, and as deeper you walk, as smoother appear the walls, and if you feel unusual warm air streaming from the depth, or if you hear the rushing sound of streaming air in a ventilation or elevator shaft, then look for a special kind of artificial and smooth wall somewhere in the cave with a door made of gray metal. If you would be able to open that door, but I doubt this, you would be in a usually round technical room with ventilation systems and elevators to the depth. This is probably an entry to our world. If you have reached this point, you should know that we are now definitely aware of your presence. You are already in big trouble if you have entered the round room, but you should look for one of the 2 reptilian symbols on the walls. If there are no symbols or other symbols, you are maybe in bigger trouble as you think, because not every underground installation belongs to our kind. Some new tunnel systems are operated from alien races, including hostile races. My general advice, if you find yourself in a, for you, strange underground installation, run away as fast as you can.
Ah, okay. Well, thank you for that. Now, you mentioned earlier that you use the name Lacerta when you are among humans, and that you enjoy to be in the real sun on the surface. But how can you be among us? You don't look like us, so anyone will see that you belong to another species. Why has nobody seen and described a being like you if your kind lives already since our creation together with us on the same planet? Can you elaborate on that for me?
First, my kind was, of course, seen and described and worshipped many times in your primitive past. For example, in your religious writings like your Christian Bible. You can find descriptions and even simple drawings of us for also in the southern part of the American continent on various temples. So-called wise men from India and from the Asian mountains have described our species many times in writings, together with other wise men from the African continent. I think we are the most mentioned non-human species, maybe beside the Elohim, in your history. If you don't believe me, have a look at your history, and you will see the truth in my words. Your great scientists called the belief in us superstition and religion, and today's intelligent humans have forgotten our presence on the surface in the past. Furthermore, our species is seen even today, sometimes from human witnesses in its original shape on Earth, or in our surface-near entries and tunnel systems. But fortunately you and your media didn't take the reports of such crazies serious. That's good for us, and that's the reason why we allow those people to see us as we really are. Some of my species are also in direct contact with human scientists and politicians from the surface, but this is top secret, as you would call it. And nobody of your public knows anything about it. The matter of these meetings is generally the upcoming war with and between the alien species and our assistants in this war. But there is also another explanation, why we can walk among you, and why you are not able to recognize us. Mimicry. The following may again sound unbelievable and even shocking to you, but as you have asked, I will explain it. I have told you before that we have more advanced mental abilities than your species, and with more advanced, I mean that we are able to use telepathy and telekinesis from our birth on. In fact, mother and newborn child communicate generally with telepathy during the first months, without special training, as you need it to activate these sleeping parts of your brain. The structure of our brain is a little bit different to yours, and our hypothesis is larger and more active than yours, especially when we are in sunlight. Our own abilities are very strong in comparison to yours, but weak in comparison to the matter string/bubble mind forces of some of the alien species on this planet. I was never very good in that mind things, but we all have these primary abilities and can use them, for example, for our protection or even for attack. When we are on the surface and we meet human beings, even a large group of them, this makes no difference. All of your minds are like one mind. We are able to touch their mind and induce them via telepathy. The command, see us as one of your kind, and the weak human mind will accept this order without refusion, and they will see us, despite our reptilian look, as normal humans. I've done this many times, and you weak humans generally see me as an attractive brown-haired woman, because I have created this special mimicry image in my mind years ago, and I can induce it into your minds without problems. I've needed some time at the beginning to learn the use of the mimicry correctly, but then it worked nearly automatically, and I can even walk among a group of yours, and nobody will recognize what I am. There is a simple switch. See us as we really are. See us as we want you to see us, in your consciousness, which was placed there from the Elohim when they created your kind. And we can use this switch to convince you that you see humans when you look at us. Other aliens use this switch too. It is easier as you think. When there are meetings between your kind and aliens which seem to look exactly like yours, these aliens have used that switch, and some of the meetings with men like aliens can be also explained with meetings with my kind. When I met EF the first time, He saw me also as a normal human woman, and I remember that he was very frightened and shocked when I revealed him my real appearance.
Ha, okay. So you mean to tell me that you can actually make me think that I'm talking to an attractive, brown-headed human female right now instead of the reptilian being that I see before me?
Probably, but I don't think so in your special case. When someone expects to see a human woman instead of me, I can do it without problems with his mind, even with large groups, because nobody expects to see a reptile woman. But I have allowed your mind to see me in my original appearance from our first meeting on, and I have never induced something into your mind. So you have already realized that I'm not human. If I would now try to change this, it would probably lead to an absolute confusion or to unconsciousness, and I don't want to harm you. As I have said, I'm not very good in these things.
Okay, that's a little scary. Um, can you perchance kill somebody with those abilities?
Yes, but it's forbidden. This means not that it was not done in previous times.
Okay, that's disconcerting. Does both sexes have this ability?
Yes,
Okay. What about photos? How would you appear on a photo?
this is a silly question. I appear on photos as a reptile being because I can't have influence on the photo or on the camera itself, but only on the photographer's mind. If he or she would develop the film and show the photo to others, they would see me in my original shape. That's the reason why it is forbidden for our kind to be filmed or photographed, and we must avoid every camera on the surface. That is very difficult, and we were filmed sometimes in the past without our knowledge, especially from certain of your governments and secret agencies.
Okay, all right. What other types of commands could you induce into our minds? Could you do something like, say, serve us or obey?
This is again a strange question. We are not your enemy, most of us not. So why should we do this? To answer your question, it depends on the strength of the human mind and on the strength of the sending reptilian. There is no serve us or serve me switch in your mind, so such a command is much more difficult to induce. If the human mind and consciousness is weak, and the reptilian inducer is experienced in these things and with some hours in the sun before he or she tries to do it, then it could probably work for a certain time. There are secret teachings about such things, but I've never learned anything about it. I use my primary abilities for mimicry and for communication with my own kind and sometimes for other private things, but I've never used it to harm humans or their mind. I would appreciate it if we can end with this topic here.
Of course we can. Okay, on to something different. Now, you said earlier that you can hide your UFOs. Do you use the same abilities to do this?
Yes, but on a technical base. There is a powerful device inside each craft, which is able to send an artificial signal to your minds to convince you that you see either nothing but only the sky, or that you see normal aircraft like planes instead of our ships. This isn't used very often because we avoid human public when we move in the atmosphere. If you are able to see our UFOs, it means that the device is either defect or deactivated for some reason. The camouflage effect didn't work on photos, to answer this possible question of you already in advance. But why should someone make a photo of the sky when he could not see anything unusual there? By the way, most of the surface near entry points to our tunnels are also hidden with such a device, and your kind will generally see only normal cave walls instead of the door. That's one reason why I've said that I doubt that you will be able to find such a secret door to our world. but it have happened a few times in the past.
Okay, well, that sounds as if it was bad for their health. But let's get back to something else. Okay, so let's get back to our shared history. Now, you've mentioned that the race of Elohim, who created the human race, all right? Now, from where did they come from? And what did they look like? And what exactly happened when they arrived? Oh, and would you say that they are our, in quotations, gods?
The Elohim came from this universe, from the solar system you call Aldebaran in your maps. They were a very tall humanoid species, with usually blonde hairs and a very white skin. They avoided the sunlight because it hurt their skin and their eyes. This was absolutely unbelievable for a sun-loving species like us. They seemed to be intelligent and peaceful at the beginning, and we started a more or less friendly communication with them, but later they showed their real intentions and plans. They wanted to evolve the apes to a new breed, and we were a disturbing factor for them on their new zoo planet. At first, they caught around 10,000 or maybe even 20,000 of your simian ancestors, and they left the planet for some 100 years. When they returned, they brought your, now more human, ancestors back. Then they left Earth again for some thousands of years, and the primitive pre-humans lived together with us without major problems. They were just afraid of our aircraft and technology. The Elohim had taught their mind and enhanced their brain and their body structure, and they were now able to use tools and fire. The Elohim returned within 23,000 years 7 times and accelerated the evolution speed of certain of your kind. You must understand that you are not the first human civilization on the planet. The first advanced humans who lived at the same time with less developed pre-humans because the Elohim had experimented with different speeds and stages of evolution. With technology and speech existed around 700,000 years ago on this planet. Your scientists have not understand this because they've found only the bones of the pre-humans and some primitive cave drawings showing advanced humans and flying devices. This genetically advanced human breed lived together with us, but they avoided contact with my kind because the Elohim teachers had warned them with misleading purpose that we are evil beings and that we lie to them. Well, after some centuries, the aliens decided to extinct their first creation and they accelerated the evolution of a second and better test series and so on and so on. The truth is that your modern human civilization is not the first on this planet Earth, but already the 7th. The buildings of the first breeds are lost, but the 5th civilization was the one which built the large triangular constructions you call Egyptian pyramids today, around 75,000 years ago. Your Egyptians just found that large ancient pyramids in the sand and tried not very successful to build similar constructions. And the 6th civilization was the one which built the cities which ruins you can find today beneath the sea in the so-called Bimini area around 16,000 years ago. The last creation of the 7th breed of your series was done just 8,500 years ago, and this is the only creation you can remember and to which your religious writings refer. You rely on archaeological and paleontological artifacts, which show you a wrong and short past, but how should you know anything about the 6 civilizations before? And if you find evidence for their existence, you deny and misinterpret the facts. This is partly a programming of your mind and partly pure ignorance. I will tell you in the following only about your creations, because the 6 previous mankinds are lost, and therefore they should not concern you. There was a long war between us and the Elohim, and also between certain groups of the Elohim themselves, because many of them were the opinion that the again and again creation of human species on this planet makes no real sense. The last battles in this war were fought around 5,000 years ago in orbit and surface. The aliens used powerful sonic weapons to destroy our underground cities, but on the other hand, we were able to destroy many of their surface installations and bases in space. The humans of your series were very frightened when they observed our battles, and they wrote it down in form of religious myths. Their mind was not able to understand what was really going on. The Elohim, who appeared as gods for the 6th and 7th breed, told them that it is a war between good and evil, and that they are the good, and we are the evil race. This depends certainly on the point of view. It was our planet before they arrived, and before they started their evolution project with your kind. In my opinion, it was our right to fight for our planet. It was exactly 4,943 years ago, according to your time scale, that the Elohim left the planet again for unknown reasons. This is a very important date for us, because many of our historians called it a victory. Fact is that we don't know what had really happened. The Elohim were gone from one day to another. They vanished without a trace, together with their ships, and we found most of their surface installations destroyed by them. The humans were on their own, and your civilization developed. Many of us were in contact with certain, more southern tribes of your species in the coming centuries, and we were able to convince some of them that we are not the evil the aliens wanted them to believe. During the time from 4,900 years ago to today, many other alien species arrived the planet. Some of them used the old teaching and programming of your mind and played again, God for you. But the Elohim themselves never came back. They had left the planet for a duration of some 1,000 years also earlier. So we expect their return one day in future to end their project, or to maybe extinct, also the 7th breed. But we don't really know what have happened to them. To answer this question of you in advance, your current civilization doesn't know anything about your real origin, about your real past, about your real world and universe, and you know very little about us and our past, and you know nothing about the things to come in near future. As long as you will not understand and believe my words, I tell you the truth, because we are not your enemy. As long there is danger for your species, your enemies are already here, and you have not understood. Open your eyes, or you will be in big trouble soon. If you haven't believed anything of the things I've told you before, then you should really believe and remember this.
Oh? Why don't you think I believe you?
I have a certain feeling that you don't believe me, despite the fact that I'm sitting here in front of you. Everything I have told you in the last 2 hours is the absolute truth about our world.
Okay, then. How many alien species are active on the Earth at this moment?
As far as we know, 14 species, 11 from this universe, 2 from another bubble, and 1 very advanced from a very different plane. Don't ask me for names, because nearly all are not pronounceable for you. 8 of them are not pronounceable even for us. Most of the species, especially the more advanced, are just studying you as animals, and they are not very dangerous for you and for us, and we work together with some of them. But 3 species are hostile, including the one which was in contact with some of your governments and exchanged their technology for copper and other important things, and which had betrayed your kind. There was and is a Cold War between 2 of these hostile races during the last 73 years, and the 3rd species seemed to be the winner in this useless struggle. We expect a more hot war between them and you in the near future, I would say in the next 10 or 20 years, and we are worried about that development. In the last time, there were some rumors about a new 15th species, which had arrived on Earth just 3 or 4 years ago. But we don't know anything about their intentions, and we were not in contact with them till now. Maybe the rumors are wrong.
Perhaps. Now, what do the hostile alien races want, would you say?
Various raw materials, including copper for their technology, your water, or better, the hydrogen in your water, which is a source of energy in advanced fusion processes, and certain chemical elements in your air. Furthermore, 2 of the species are also interested in your body, in your human tissue and blood, because their own genetic structure is defect through bad evolution and radiation, as far as we know, and they need intact strings from your kind and from animals to repair their own genetic again and again, but they are not really able to repair the defects completely, because their DNA and your DNA is not fully compatible. My own species is absolutely incompatible with them, so they are not very interested in us, and they try to make more compatible crossbreeds between you and them by use of artificial fertilizations and artificial wombs. We suppose that the coming war between the 3 races, or between you and one or all of them, will be fought for raw material, hydrogen, air, and DNA.
Interesting. Okay. Is this the reason for the abductions?
Partly, especially when the aliens took egg and sperm samples from you. Sometimes the abductors belong to another and more advanced race, and they just want to study your body and your mind, which is more interesting for some of them than your solid body, as you would study a primitive animal. As I have said, 3 alien species are hostile, and this means that they do not care for your fate or for your life, and people who were abducted by them came very rarely back alive. If someone is able to report about an abduction, it means, in my opinion, that he or she has not met one of the aggressive species, or that he or she is a very, very lucky human to be alive. Advanced and friendly races also took sometimes egg and sperm samples, but for other reasons.
Okay. Now, you said that there are only 14 species active on Earth. But why have so many people described seeing so many different and even bizarre looking species?
I think I have already answered to this question. As I have said, most of the alien races have much more advanced mind abilities than you or even me. There is just one alien race completely without such abilities. They are able to appear in your mind and memory as whatever they want, and this induced image has nothing to do with their real appearance. You remember them as normal humans or gray dwarfs, or even extremely bizarre animals, because they want you to remember that, or sometimes they want you to completely forget anything about a meeting with them. Another example, you can, for example, remember that you were just in a normal of your human hospitals, and that some doctors were examining you, and you think not further about what have happened to you, maybe till you discover that there is no hospital in the street where you supposed it. But in fact, you were examined by them in one of their laboratories. You can't rely on your mind in this case. They appear in different shapes to you to confuse you and to make so-called abduction witnesses who are able to remember the events, or who believe they are able to remember, ridiculous in the public, and as far as we know, they are successful. Believe me, there are only 14 alien species on this planet, and only 8 of them abduct humans at the moment. Again, as far as we know. In addition, not every one of your abductees is one, and some of the aliens in their reports are really just imagination or lies.
Right, and I'm sure that's very likely in some scenarios. Now, how can we protect ourselves against the influence on our minds in which you've described?
I don't know. I doubt you can, because your mind is like an open book to read and write for nearly every species I know. This is partly the guilty of the Elohim themselves, because they had constructed, or better misconstructed, partly intentionally, your mind and your consciousness, without real protection mechanisms. If you are aware that someone tries to manipulate your mind, you can only concentrate on that suspicion and try to analyze every one of your thoughts and memories. Very important. Don't close your eyes. This would lead to a different form of brain waves, which are more easy to access. And don't sit or lay down to rest. If you stay awake during the first minutes, you can maybe try to filter the other thoughts and waves in your brain. And the inducer will give up after some minutes if he or she is not successful, because it will start to hurt his or her own brain. This is very difficult and certainly painful, and it can harm you. So better don't try to resist. But it would be the only possibility you have. However, you can try this only with the more weaker species, not with the strong.
Okay, noted. Now, what do you mean with one species comes from a very different plane? Can you elaborate, please?
Before I can explain that correctly to you, you must be able to understand the universe, and this would mean a maybe useless teaching of your mind, including the remove of some barriers, of many weeks. And with teaching, I mean not only teaching by words. I have said this with your word plane or level, because you have again no better word in your vocabulary, and dimension would be in this case absolutely wrong. It's rather wrong even for another bubble, because a dimension can't exist without planes. If you would be a species living in another, or over the plane, and if you would be furthermore able to enter planes without technology so that your body is not made of that kind of matter, then you would be the mightiest being you can imagine. This very advanced race I've mentioned had developed outside of here, and they've evolved, in fact, over billions of years. They would be able to destroy all of you and us and everything with just a single thought. We were in contact with them only 3 times in our whole history, because their interest in your planet is different from that of all other races. They are definitely no danger for you or us.
Okay, well, that's a nice change. Now, what will happen when the war begins?
This is difficult to answer. It depends on the enemy race and on their tactic. War is not always that primitive thing you humans mean with the word. War can be fought on various levels. One possibility they have is the destruction of your social system by influence on political leaders. Another is the use of advanced weapon systems which can cause earthquakes or volcanic eruptions or other disasters, including weather disasters, which may seem natural to you. The special fields from copper fusion I've mentioned earlier are able to have an influence on your global weather. I think they will not attack the planet directly before the human civilization is weak, because even you have possibilities to destroy their craft, but not many. Let me say that we are not absolutely sure if there will be really such a hot war already in the next years. I don't want to talk further about this.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Now, this is the end of the interview. Do you want to say a last message for everybody out there?
Open your eyes and see. Don't believe only in your wrong history or your scientists or your politicians. Some of them know the truth about various things, but they don't inform the public to avoid confusion and panic. I think your species is not as bad as some of my kind thinks, and it would be a pity to observe your end. That's everything I can say. Go through your world with open eyes and you will see. Or maybe not. Your kind is ignorant.
Yeah. Sometimes that is the case. Now, here's a question. Do you think anyone will believe that this interview is the truth?
No, but it is an interesting experiment for my social studies. We will meet again in some months, and you will tell me then what have happened after the publication of my message. Maybe there is hope for your kind.